And here we go with the next video. This one will still be using ANCONC. This one here, and we're looking at the keyword tool, because remember, you have to compare your two corpora. This is not necessarily a logical way, but I want to stick with lists at the moment. Okay, so if we open ANCONC, here we go. You're familiar with it now, what it looks like when you open it empty. Now, again, we have to go to the we'll still be using the word list tool. So we want to open in Corpus Manager, and you can see we have Erudi PF, which is here. Okay, so either click it and open as a target corpus, or double click it. Okay, you can see it appears here, and then, oops, get that out of the way, we can return to main window. Why the video is suddenly there, you can see me as well, I do not know. Who cares? Anyway, so we have the PF corpus here, but we want to, and we can create a word list of that. Remember, click on word here and start. Okay, all this looks familiar. What we want to do now is to compare this corpus with another corpus. Now, I haven't uploaded two corpora. I could have compared the first year here, all the files begin with 14, and the last year 18, but let's do something different. Let's use Lawrence Anthony's, what he recommends, which is the AMEO 6 corpus. Now, for this, it's blank. If you click on here, you can see most of these things are blank. I've just uploaded this one corpus here, which is the AMEO 6J Learned corpus. AMEO is American English. 06 is the corpus which Paul Baker created. Lawrence Anthony talks about this, and Learned is the academic language. So you want to open this as a reference corpus. So click on reference, and then double click or open as reference corpus. Okay, and we can see it here. Return to main window. So now you see we haven't just got one big list here, we've got two lists. Okay, in our file we have Erudi PF file corpus, which is 122 files. AMEO 6 is only 80 files, but the reference corpus AMEO 6 is 161,000 words, whereas our corpus is smaller at only 30,000 words. Okay, if I want to change between the two, so that Erudi personal feedback corpus is the target, AMEO 6 is the reference, I can switch. If I go to file, swap. Now you see we've got AMEO 6 is the target corpus where we do our searches, and the Erudi PF is the reference corpus. But let's undo that. Let's go back again. So we've got the Erudi PF is our main corpus. Okay, so we can do a word list for Erudi, no problem. If we switch, we can do a word list for AMEO 6, start, no problem. Remember, we can file, save tab results to your desktop, and you can stick them into an Excel file or other spreadsheet. Okay, but let's go back and have the Erudi corpus here. So here I'm interested in the keyword tool, which is here. Let me get this out of the way. The keyword tool compares words in two corpora. Okay, so basically what you're asking it to do is to say which words are particularly frequent in one corpus compared to the other one. In other words, which words are really, really frequent, they are key, they tell you something about that corpus compared to the other corpus. Okay, now this is very simple to do. We can simply click on start. Okay, and what we see here is you've got the list of numbers, but I is very frequent in the PF corpus, personal feedback corpus, compared to the AMEO 6 corpus. Now, when you're doing this, you'll be comparing your RA corpus to your other corpus, or the other way around. Okay, which words are particularly typical of the academic language in your RAs compared to the other corpora. Okay, so I is the most significantly frequent word in our corpus compared to the academic language in the American English Learned section. Okay, this is not surprising because the personal feedback is personal feedback. So you expect students to say I a lot. Okay, whereas normally in academic language, we don't use I very much. And we can see that here. We have 1,535 occurrences in our corpus, PF corpus, but the frequency in the reference corpus is only 345. Okay, it occurs in almost all the files in the PF corpus. We've got 122 files. It occurs in 121 of them. But in the reference corpus, there are 80 files, it only occurs in 60 of them. Okay, now because our files are different sizes, our corpora are different sizes, our PF corpus is only 30,000 words, whereas the reference corpus is 161,000 words. We want to take that into account. So what we give us, you can ask it to take that into account, but basically what it gives us is a keenness likelihood. If you're not sure what this means, don't worry. You can always look at it on Wikipedia if you like, likelihood or rather log likelihood. If you do want to know other possibilities, and this is only for people who are comfortable with statistics, which is probably not most of you from experience. I'm not a statistician myself, but if you want to know the choices, the effect and the likelihood, you can go to settings, tool settings. Remember, this is keywords, and this is what we've got. So we can show raw values or normalized values. We can show negative keywords, in other words, words which are significantly less frequent, but we're not asking it to do that. We've chosen log likelihood for term. There are other things you could choose. You could choose chi-squared or dispersion, but leave it as it is. I don't recommend you change that. The significance is set at P is less than 0.05. This is standard with a Bonferroni correction. Again, if you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. The effect size measure is dice, but it could be mutual information or something else. Again, don't worry about this. You don't need it. It's only for people who are comfortable with statistics. But feel free to find out. As I say, Google it, look on Wikipedia, ask Gen AI to tell you. Okay, so what we're seeing here is at the moment, everything is sorted by, it says here, likelihood. In other words, this figure in this column gets smaller and smaller and smaller the further you go down. Okay, we could sort by the keenness effect. And now it's this figure which goes smaller and smaller and smaller. Or we could do by actual frequency in the target, etc. And then here it's frequency target. This figure goes down and down and down. But mostly, probably what you want is the likelihood. This gives you the statistical probability. It's log, so it's a logarithmic scale of this word occurring this much more frequently here than there. So 4008 is enormous. It's very, very unlikely that the difference in occurrence of I in our corpus compared to the other corpus is by chance. It's very, very unlikely. There's so many more occurrences of I in PF compared to AMIO 6 learned. It's not likely to be by chance. Okay, so we also have me and my. Okay, so things which are personal, it is personal feedback. So these words are very significant, very statistically frequent in our corpus compared to the other corpus. Other words, things like corpus, AntConc, linguistics, corporate, research, they tell us something about our corpus, the content of our corpus. Okay. Just looking at my notes here. And we've got things as well like really. Again, this is perhaps typical not of the fact that we're talking about corpus linguistics, but that we're talking about a personal style. Okay, students, when they're giving their personal feedback, they use the word really a lot. So in this list, we're still in keyword, but in this list, if you double click really, it takes you to the quick tool. So you can see it's automatically sorted to the right for really. We've got really enjoyed doing, really enjoyed doing, really enjoyed to compile, really enjoyed to do, really enjoyed using. So really enjoyed really is an intensifier, which is used, you can see here, it's used quite frequently in our corpus. Often with positive words, really enjoyed. Oh, isn't that nice? Really useful, really wanted, really interesting, really interested, really complicated. Some of them are negative, but a lot of them are positive. Okay. If there's something which interests you, intrigues you, you've got it here, double click, and it takes you to the file view. Okay, so you can see this is one text. This is from student S06 in the year 2014, and a lot of occurrences are really in here. This is occurrence number 11 here. You can go up, occurrence number 12, or down, there aren't any more, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. You can see all of them. See, really long time. And very often what you've got is, at first, when I read the assignment, I thought I would not be able to complete it at all. Okay? But to the end, when you get towards the end, it's something like bum, 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 bum. I'm really using corpus and really enjoyed using Anconc. I really worked hard. Okay, and that's typical. We can switch back to the quick keyword in context. Really enjoyed doing it. It was in the end, I really enjoyed doing the assignment. Okay, whereas in the end in here. Okay, in the end, I really enjoyed. So this is the file view. It shows you each individual file. Now remember, the personal feedback section is quite short, so it's not very big here. If we're looking for really lots of occurrences. But when you've got a research article, which is 20 pages of text, for example, you can imagine it's really useful to be able to visualize a word in the overall context of all of it. Okay. I think actually I'll continue because this is not very long, so I'll go on to the next page as well. I was going to do this separately. Right, so here we are. That's the keywords. So seeing which words, and this can orient you towards words which you think are worth exploring more. You can explore words in the file view tool, and you can explore words in the quick. The quick keywords in context, the concordance, this is called a concordance, keywords in context, when you can see the word with left and right context. Remember, we can have more or less context. This is to have 15 words either side. Okay, really enjoyed, really useful, really wanted, really interesting, really complicated. I don't really know. I don't really. Okay, you think don't? That could be interesting. We could sort to the left. Okay, first word to the left, second word to the left, third word to the left, in that order. It's okay. So now we've got I really, okay, a lot of occurrences of I, it was really, and then we go down not really. So if you're interested in not really, you can see it very, very easily. One thing I have to say here is that there are only, if you go down to the bottom of the page, there are only 100 hits. That's because it's limited to 100 hits here. In fact, there are only 108 occurrences of really, but we're limited to 100. So either you can go to the next page and see the remaining 8, which aren't on the first page, or you can choose this to show 500 hits, 1,000, 5,000 hits, or just all hits. Okay, now you go down to 108. So these are useful things to be able to do. Let's go back to the keywords list for something like, let's say, for example, difficult. Do you want difficult or difficulty or difficulties? Now, you can do that in the keyword in context. If you type in difficult, you get all the occurrences of difficult. If you type in difficulty, you get all the occurrences of difficulty, 13. If you want difficulties, you've got 34 occurrences all listed down here. Okay, sorted to the left, maybe you want to sort to the right instead. Okay, or maybe we don't want to sort at all. You can have no sort and it just comes then in the file order. But what about if you want to look for difficulty and difficulty, sorry, difficult and difficulty and difficulties all together? The simplest way to do this is to use an asterisk. So when you have some letters with an asterisk at the end, it means all words which begin with those letters and end with anything at all. Okay, so if we do start now, we've got difficulties, difficulties, difficult, difficulties, 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 difficulty, all of them combined together because we've got difficult asterisk. Asterisk means any sequence of letters. But here's the important point. If you do something different, if you put a space between the letters and the asterisk, there's a space in the middle there, this means something different. It's not words that begin with D-I-F-F-I-C-U-L-T and end with something. It's the complete word difficult followed by another word, any other word. Okay, if we start now, we only have difficult plus one word. That's maybe not surprising because even if we don't have anything there, we get the same result because it's sorting to the right by the first word. But if we want to have, for example, difficult followed by another word followed by me, difficult for me. So he, or difficult to me to understand. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 occurrences, 6 occurrences of difficult for me and then often to do, to use, to come up with. Okay, so you can see a regular way to use difficult. You do get other things as well. Something seemed difficult for me, or when I was not sure. The choice of subject wasn't difficult for me, end. So it's not difficult for me to do, it's difficult for me, stop. Okay. And then you've got one as well. It was really difficult to me to understand. If you've got one occurrence out of 7, which has a different pattern, either it means it's a relatively unusual pattern in our corpus, in our Erudi personal feedback corpus. Now, because this is student writing, it might be something which is non-standard English. I don't want to say an error, a mistake, but it could be. But you can always find papers which include errors. In your own corpus, your RA corpus, you can upload it here, but you will still find that it does include some errors. So it's not because you find an expression once or a group of words once in your corpus that it's something you necessarily use. Use things which are relatively frequent in your corpus. If you've got 10 RAs, maybe it's, I don't know, how long is a research article? 6,000 words. If you've got 6, make 60,000 words. So if you've only got one occurrence in 60,000 words or 2 occurrences in 60,000 words, it's not something you necessarily want to imitate. If you've got 10 or 20 or 30 occurrences in 60,000 words, then it means it's something which you can borrow and use in your own writing. Okay, so all of these things are useful in the quick. There is something else which you could do. If you want to compare difficult, or if you want to search for difficult, oh no, let's choose something different. We had really, all of these items, okay, 108. But what if we want to search for really and very at the same time? You can do this if you do a vertical bar. You need 2 vertical bars. So really, vertical bar, very. Okay, then you start and you'll see the 2 things here. We're still sorting to the right. So very interesting is the most common pattern, or very interesting and, really interesting too, very interesting too, really interesting too, etc. So it's interesting is the first word to the right, then the second, then the third. If you want to separate very and really, you can simply put sort to center to right. Okay, so then when you start, you'll have very, because very is more frequent than really. Okay, sorting to the right. The slight exception here, you can see very comma. Why is this not with all the other veries? It's because when we created the corpus in File, Corpus Manager, remember when we uploaded the corpus here, we didn't change any of these things. And sometimes we need to change the token definition. A token is like a word to include punctuation. By default, it doesn't. Most of the time, we're not interested in punctuation. Okay, so very comma, because it's connected, it thinks of it as being a separate letter. So not in the search, but in the results. Okay, so it doesn't take that into account. I think that's all I need to show you on the quick, but this is one of the most useful tools. Yes, word, yes, keyword, but in particular, quick. You need to look at words in context. I don't want to see any RPs which do not include a concordance for the keyword in context. Okay, so we've had word lists and we've had keyword lists. I showed you the word cloud. The other things we can do as well. Let's go to collocates. Seeing as we're looking at very and really, if we stick to really, remember when we were here, really, we can start this. Let's sort just to right. So really plus what? But you've got all of these things, and because it's taking into account the third word, maybe we don't want that. Maybe we just delete that. Okay. Otherwise, what you can do is you can say to yourself, what words frequently co-occur with really, and start. Okay, so really enjoyed is particularly significant within 5 words to the left and right. Okay, the likelihood. Actually, let's just to make sure we're not doing anything wrong, clear all tools and files and start again. Okay, to make sure that everything is back to normal. Corpus Manager, Corpus Database, Erudi PF. Open as target corpus. Oops. We don't want anything here, so we need to get rid of that. It's annoying, it never quite does what you want. File, Corpus Manager. Wait, where you gone? File, Corpus Manager. Here we go. Let's get rid of the reference corpus. There we go. So I've just got target corpus. It should be Erudi PF. Okay, back to the window. Oh, it's gone again. File, open Corpus Manager. You'll get used to this. It happens. Okay, you can see it appearing here and here. Back to this window. So color cuts, if you want to look at, for example, really, it will give you enjoyed. If you want to look at very, it will give you more items because there are more occurrences of very. These are only the ones which are statistically significantly frequent within a window of 5 words to the left and 5 words to the right. So you can see really interesting is the most, well, really and interesting, they occur together 19 times in total, 18 times when it's really interesting or really something interesting. If we double click, you can see this. Very interesting, very, was it really or very we had? No, it was, yes, it's very. So clicking on that, we get very interesting, but sometimes the very is on the other side. So if we sort to left, we should see that, okay? Was interesting, should be somewhere interesting and very, not quite sure where it is. Okay, so this gives you the color cuts, very interesting, very useful, very helpful, was very as well. Here you can see it's mostly on the left. Very interesting, the frequency is on the right, so it's very plus interesting to the right, very useful, useful is to the right, very helpful, helpful is to the right, but was is mostly on the left, frequency on the left, was very or was something very. But these words, because it's within a window, 5 left and 5 right, they're not necessarily attached. They might have separate other words which separate them. Okay, clusters is a similar type of thing. We can, what are the clusters, cluster sizes, groups of 2 words with very in them. If we start here, very interesting, very useful, very helpful, and so on. Okay, this is on the left. So you can see all of the words which follow very in a 2-word group. If we want 3-word groups, very time-consuming, very interesting, and very difficult too, very useful, and, but they're not very frequent. And word expressions or groups of words which only occur once are probably not very useful for you. So maybe you choose the minimum frequency of 2, so you don't have just individual occurrences. You're only looking at things which occur at least twice. Or maybe you want to say they occur in at least 2 different files. At least 2 students had this word. Now, if you start, you'll see that all of these ones disappear. Okay, so we've only got things which were used by at least 2 students in at least 2 PF files. Okay, another one which is really useful is the n-grams list. Make sure you get rid of this. If you don't, it will only give you ones for very. Here, n-grams. What is an n-gram? Well, if we start, let's see. I would recommend, again, you only look at things which occur at least twice, at least 3 files, or maybe at least 3 times. No, let's go for 2. Okay, start. You have groups of 2 words. So it looks similar to clusters, but clusters normally is when you're looking for which words occur with very. N-grams are groups of words, whatever the group of word is. So you're not specifying with very, it could be anything. So the most frequent pair of words, n-gram, it's a 2-gram or a bigram. The most frequent pair of words is corpus linguistics. It occurs 149 times in 77 of our 122 files. I was of the I had, etc. Okay, now if you're limited to 2, if we go all the way down, well, we're limited to 100 here. Remember, we can have all hits. Oops, now it's only giving me 10. Why is it? Oh, sorry, I misclicked on 10. All hits. Now we go down, we get all the way down to, there are lots of them. Okay, too many. So maybe frequency of 2, if reduced to, for example, at least 5 times and at least 5 papers, that should give us a smaller number. It's still a lot. So maybe we want to make it bigger still. At least 10 times, 10 papers. Still got 315 pairs of words which occur in at least 10 different files, once each. Okay. And you can see a lot of these, some of them are things like corpus linguistics or research paper. Other things like I was, of the, I had, in the, and I, a lot of them include all those grammar function words that we saw in the word list. So determiners, the, some, many, pronouns, prepositions, etc. That's, let's go back to frequency of 2, a minimum of 2 files. Start again. 3,397. Not going to look at that, but that's pairs of words. But we can increase the n-gram size and look not at 2-word sequences, 3-word sequences. Now remember, we had 3,397 2-word sequences. Now looking for 3-word sequences, we'll find 2,300. Okay, so groups of 3 words, I had to, I did not, a lot of, etc. This research paper of corpus linguistics. What if we do 4-word groups? So at the moment we've got 2,314 3-word groups, go down to only 958. Things like a lot of time, the first time I. That's quite interesting. That's giving you an insight into what the students are thinking. The first time. When discovering corpus linguistics course for the first time, I must admit that I felt completely destabilized. When I read the course for the first time, I did not understand. To be honest, even after reading the entire course fascicle for the first time, I had difficulties. So you see, at the beginning, students did find it difficult. So this is how a corpus tool can help you to get an insight which you might not have noticed otherwise. Okay? And if you want to, what you can do is you can go to collocates of first time. Will it work with 2 words? No, it's giving us, it's because the settings are too low. Don't worry about that. That's the collocates tool. We could put it down, change the value to something else. Forget that for the moment. N-grams, right. So these are 4 grams, groups of 4 words. You can look at them. It can give you an idea. As I say, if you click on one, I didn't know, you can see the occurrences in context. That's 4 grams. We've got just under 1,000, so 958 4 grams. If we go to 5 grams, only 2. That's wrong. There's something strange going on. Oh, it's because I didn't know here. So if you're not sure, if you can't see what the problem is, start again by going to File, Clear All Tools and Files. Because I spotted the problem, that should work. Right, now, we've gone down from 958 to 370. There are only 370 groups of 5 words. You see how it's going down really, really quickly. If I increase it to groups of 6 words, we're down from 370 to 176. I spent a lot of time, it took me some, but there are only 4 people using these expressions, 2 people using these ones, okay? If we go down to, if we go up, sorry, to n-gram size 7, I thought it would be interesting too. 3 students use this because there are 3 files. All the other ones are just 2. All of them are 2. What happens? A digital subscription, it was important to. Let's double click on that. We can see there are 2 files, 16 S14, 15 student 09. Okay, back to the n-grams. Let's look at the next one. Oh, it's not the same, sorry. But yeah, 15 S14, 16 S13, 16 S13, 17 S10. A lot of these ones are the same students. So you get the impression that some students are pretty much copying from each other. And if you go up to 10, oops, again, get rid of this. We don't want anything in here. We want to leave the search blank. 16 S14, 15 S09. 16, that's not the same one again. I've done the same problem again. Anyway, you can see that very often it's the same students who are doing the same, who are using the same text. Okay, and you can actually compare these texts, and that's partly how a plagiarism checker works. Okay, we'd be more than curious to know what it's not just this bit that's the same, it's the text around it as well. I have found notably useful and will be more than curious to know what a further corpus. This is one student, student 13 in the year 2016. This is student 10 in the year 2017, the following year. I have found Ankong very useful. So change notably to very, change one word. I'll be more than curious to know what a further corpus. this is cheating. As one student has copied another student's personal feedback. Now, I told you that these included the good and the bad text, so I know which is which. Okay, what else do I need to show you? I think I've done all the tools now, apart from Chat AI. Yes, we have looked at all of them. The Chat AI tool, as soon as you click on it, it brings up a warning. It can cost you money. It's not expensive, but you need to have an API. Okay, if you don't know what an API is, forget it. If you've experimented with ChatGPT or Gemini, if you have an account, you can use it here, and it costs like 1/10 of a centime for every query. So it's very, very cheap, but you do need to do that. Basically, you write your prompt in here. It may be able to help you. I haven't used this very much, but partly because there is no tutorial from Lawrence Anthony online. And partly because I prefer to use GPT directly. I don't think that generative AI can do the same things as corpus linguistics as well. Okay, the informal experiments that I've done, yes, ChatGPT and other generative artificial intelligence, there are lots of good things that you can do with it, but it's not the same thing as a corpus. A corpus is very good for some things. Generative AI is very good for some things, but I don't want to try to force generative AI to do what I can already do with corpus linguistics. Okay, wouldn't be particularly convincing to me there. Okay, so let's stop this video here. I'll just do one final very short video as an outro, if you like. You can't see the transcript.